The Texas Legislature. The Texas Legislature is bicameral. That means there are two houses, a Senate and a House of Representatives, or two chambers. The Texas Senate has 31 members elected to 4-year overlapping terms. There are about 811,000 constituents per state Senate district. So each senator represents over 800,000 Texans. The Texas House of Representatives consists of 150 members elected to 2-year terms, and they represent about 167,000 constituents in each House district. There are no term limits for the Texas Legislature. You can be elected and keep being reelected for as long as the voters like. And currently, the member of the legislature with the most seniority is State Representative Senfronia Thompson, who has represented the 141st District since 1972. The Texas Legislature meets for 140 days beginning in January every odd-numbered year. Texas voters rejected annual sessions 5 times between 1949 and 1975. The legislature must adjourn at the end of the 140-day session. It has no power to call itself into a special or extraordinary session. Only the governor can call special sessions. Here are some statistics for the membership of the 87th legislature. There were 111 House members, male House members, and 21 male Senate members, compared to 38 female House members and 10 Senate members. So you can see, in terms of male to female representation, men outnumber women in the legislature about 2 to 1. In terms of party affiliation, 100 members of the legislature were Republican and 80 were Democrat, for an advantage to the Republicans. And that advantage was true in both chambers. There were 82 Republicans in the House compared to 67 Democrats, and 18 Republicans in the Senate compared to 13 Democrats. You can see most of the members were incumbents. There were only 16 freshmen in the House and 4 in the Senate. And you can see that most of the members are in the middle age brackets. 44 members of the legislature are between 40 and 49 years old. 59 are between 50 and 59 years old. And then the numbers begin to go down. There are only 36 members between the ages of 60 and 69, and 25 members 70 years old or older. Conversely, there are no members of the legislature under the age of 30, and only 16 between the ages of 30 and 39. Members of the legislature are paid $7,200 a year plus $190 a day while in session, for a total of $28,200. Since that salary is relatively low, that means that most of the legislators have other jobs. They are lawyers, real estate agents, business people, etc. Salaries have not increased since 1975. However, although the salaries are low, legislators may use campaign contributions to pay reasonable household expenses in Austin. They also may accept gifts from registered lobbyists. Lobbyists are limited to spending $500 on entertainment, but if a lobbyist is present with the legislator, there is no limit to spending on food and beverages or on travel and lodging for fact-finding trips, seminars, or conferences. In terms of retirement benefits, a legislator may retire at 50 with 12 years of service, or at 60 with 8 years of service, and receive a pension equal to $3,220 per year in office. The state also pays the health insurance premium and part of the premium for the legislators' dependents. The Speaker of the House is the presiding officer who controls the passage of legislation through the House of Representatives. Some have said it's the most powerful position in Texas government, although that's probably a slight exaggeration. The Speaker is elected by the House members. It is illegal for candidates for Speaker to formally promise members something in exchange for their votes, but supporters often receive choice committee assignments. The Speaker has the following powers. He or she can appoint chairs of all committees, appoint most of the members of each standing committee, appoint the members of the calendar and procedural committees, the conference committees, and other special committees, serve as presiding officer over all sessions, refer all bills to committees, and serve as a member of the Legislative Redistricting Board. The Lieutenant Governor is the presiding officer of the Texas Senate. The Lieutenant Governor is elected by the voters of the state of Texas, not a particular region or district within Texas, and serves a 4-year term. The Lieutenant Governor has the following powers. He or she serves as presiding officer of the Senate and interprets its rules, appoints all chairs of all Senate committees, selects all members of all Senate committees, appoints members of the conference committees, refers all bills to committees, and serves as a member of the Legislative Redistricting Board. Standing committees are committees of the House and Senate that consider legislation during sessions. Conference committees are joint committees of the House and Senate that work out differences in bills passed in each chamber. Revenue bills must begin in the House. All bills must pass both chambers to become law. Companion bills are when a member of the House and a member of the Senate file an identical bill at the same time. To give you an idea of how busy the legislature is, in the 85th session, lawmakers filed 6,631 House and Senate bills. Both the House and the Senate passed 1,211 of those bills, so less than a fifth of them. The governor vetoed 50 of those bills. Bills generally become effective September the 1st, following the legislative session, but emergency bills become effective upon the governor's signature. An emergency bill requires 2/3 of the vote of both chambers of the legislature. 397 emergency bills became effective immediately during the 85th session. This was a few years back. An example of an emergency bill, Senate Bill 12, provided protective vests for police officers. So it became immediately effective upon the governor's signature. Another thing about the bills in Texas is that each bill must have a fiscal note that explains the cost of the bill. Senate Bill 12 required $25 million to implement, or $500 per 50,000 vests. Resolutions. There are 3 types. Concurrent resolutions convey the sentiment of the legislature and usually require the governor's signature. For example, House Concurrent Resolution 31 urged Congress to encourage the USDA, that's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, to revise its irrigation policies. Another kind of resolution is a joint resolution. These do not require the governor's signature. They are used to propose constitutional amendments. In the 85th session, the legislature proposed and the voters ratified 9 amendments. Last, you have simple resolutions. These need to pass only one chamber. They do not need a governor's signature. These resolutions don't create laws. An example of this would be House Resolution 282, which recognized February 7, 2017 as Community College Day. Proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution are in the form of joint resolutions instead of bills, and require a vote of 2/3 of the entire membership in each house for adoption. Joint resolutions are not sent to the governor for approval, but are filed directly with the Secretary of State. A joint resolution proposing an amendment to the Texas Constitution does not become effective until it is approved by voters in a general election. The Legislative Budget Board submits a recommended budget, and the governor's office also submits a proposed executive budget. Then, the Senate Finance Committee and House Appropriations Committee create a budget bill for the legislature. This must pass to the state controller after it is passed through the House by the Senate and the House of Representatives before it goes to the governor. And then if the governor signs it, it becomes law. One thing about the budget and taxation in Texas, there is no income tax. Therefore, the state sales tax is the main form of revenue. The legislature has the power of impeachment. The way that works is the House votes to impeach an official, and 2/3 of the Senate must vote to convict and remove the person impeached. Only 2 Texas officials have been impeached, convicted, and removed from office. Governor James Ferguson was one. In 1917, he was impeached for vetoing the entire appropriations bill for the University of Texas. An investigation into the episode revealed financial irregularities in his government, and they became a grounds for impeachment. Another instance, in 1975, a Texas judge, O.P. Carrillo, conspired with others to charge and collect money from government entities for rentals of equipment that did not exist. He was impeached and convicted and removed from office for that behavior. How a bill becomes a law. The first step is introducing a bill. Once a bill has been written, it is introduced by a member of the House or Senate in the member's own chamber. Any bill increasing taxes or raising money for use by the state must start in the House of Representatives. House members and senators can introduce bills on any subject during the first 60 calendar days of a regular session. After 60 days, the introduction of any bill other than a local bill or a bill related to an emergency declared by the governor requires the consent of at least 4/5 of the members present and voting in the House or 4/5 of the membership in the Senate. After a bill has been introduced, a short description of the bill called a caption is read aloud while the chamber is in session so that all members are aware of the bill and its subject. This is called the first reading, and it is the point in the process where the presiding officer assigns the bill to a committee. This assignment is announced on the chamber floor during the first reading of the bill. The chair of each committee decides when the committee will meet and which bills will be considered. Public testimony is almost always solicited on bills, allowing citizens the opportunity to present arguments on different sides of an issue. After considering a bill, a committee may choose to take no action or may issue a report on the bill. The committee report, expressing the committee's recommendations regarding action on a bill, includes a record of the committee's vote on the report, the text of the bill as reported by the committee, a detailed bill analysis, and a fiscal note or other impact statement as necessary. In the House, a copy of the committee report is sent to either the Committee for Major Bills on Calendars or the Local and Consent Calendars Committee for uncontested bills and resolutions for placement on a calendar for consideration by the full House. In the Senate, local and non-controversial bills are scheduled for Senate consideration by the Senate Administration Committee. All other bills in the Senate are placed on the regular order of business for consideration by the full Senate in the order in which the bills were reported from Senate committees. By a 3/5 vote, the Senate may suspend its regular order of business and bring a bill to the floor to be considered out of order. Before the 84th legislation, this required a 2/3 vote. The rule change makes it harder to block legislation. Blocker bills are placed at the top of the Senate's daily calendar, which in effect forces a suspension of the regular order of business on every bill. Blocker bills are bills that are introduced and passed out of committee as early as possible in a legislative session in order that they may occupy the first positions on the calendar. They are not intended to be worthy of serious consideration or passage. By a 3/5 vote, the Senate may suspend its regular order of business and bring a bill to the floor to be considered out of order. Before the 84th legislation, before the 84th legislature, this required a 2/3 vote. The rule change makes it harder to block legislation. When a bill comes up for consideration by the full House or Senate, it receives its second reading. The bill is read, again by caption only, and then debated by the full membership of the Senate of the chamber. Any member may offer an amendment, but it must be approved by a majority of those present and voting to be adopted. The members then vote on whether to pass the bill. The bill is then considered by the full body, again on third reading and final passage. A bill may be amended again on third reading, but amendments at this stage require a 2/3 majority for adoption. If a bill receives a majority vote on the third reading, it is considered passed. When a bill is passed in the House where it originated, the bill is engrossed, and a new copy of the bill, which incorporates all corrections and amendments, is prepared and sent to the opposite chamber for consideration. In the second House, the bill follows basically the same steps it followed in the first House. When the bill is passed in the opposite House, it is returned to the originating chamber with any amendments that have been adopted simply attached to the bill. If a bill is returned to the originating chamber with amendments, the originating chamber can either agree to the amendments or request a conference committee to work out differences between the House version and the Senate version. Conference committees are composed of 5 members from each House, appointed by the presiding officers. Once the conference committee reaches agreement, a conference committee report is prepared and must be approved by at least 3 of the 5 conferees from each House. Conference committee reports are voted on in each House and must be approved or rejected without amendment. If approved by both Houses, the bill is signed by the presiding officers and sent to the governor. Upon receiving a bill, the governor has 10 days in which to sign the bill, veto it, or allow it to become law without a signature. If the governor vetoes the bill and the legislature is still in session, the bill is returned to the House in which it originated with an explanation of the governor's objections. A 2/3 majority in each House is required to override the veto. If the governor neither vetoes nor signs the bill within 10 days, the bill becomes a law. If a bill is sent to the governor within 10 days of final adjournment, the governor has until 20 days after final adjournment to sign the bill, veto it, or allow it to become law without a signature. The governor does not have a pocket veto power. So unlike the President of the United States, the governor cannot veto it at the end of a legislative session simply by refusing to sign it, by ignoring it. This chart, flow chart, shows the basic process of a bill becoming a law in the Texas Legislature. You can feel free to pause this video and study this chart if you find it helpful. Filibusters are an interesting feature of the Texas Senate. A filibuster is the prolonged discussion of a bill by any individual intended to delay legislative action. Filibusters are permitted in the Senate, but not in the House of Representatives. Filibusters are governed by the Senate rules and by precedents interpreting the rules. For example, Rule 3.02 prohibits eating or drinking in the Senate chamber. Rule 4.01 requires a member of the Senate to stand at his or her desk to address the Senate. The member speaking may not sit, lean, or use a desk or chair in any way. Bathroom breaks are not allowed. Rule 4.03, which governs the interruption of a member who is speaking, allows other senators to raise objections if a speaker does not confine his or her remarks to the issue under consideration, or if his or her voice is inaudible. If a point of order is raised that the senator speaking has violated the rules for decorum or debate, the presiding officer will warn the senator twice. After a third violation, the Senate may vote on the point of order. If it is sustained, the senator speaking must yield the floor. Filibusters are not officially recorded in the Senate Journal, and they can be difficult to document, but they are not uncommon. The Legislative Reference Library has identified more than 100 filibusters in the last 72 years. Senator Bill Meyer holds both the state and national record for his 43-hour filibuster on Senate Bill 1275 during the 65th regular session in 1977. Senator Meyer objected to a provision of the bill which would have prevented public inspection of the records of the Industrial Accident Board. Senators Kazin, Abraham Chick Kazin, and Henry B. Gonzalez filibustered against racial segregation bills in 1957. Senator Kazin spoke for about 11 hours before giving the floor to Gonzalez. Gonzalez began his marathon speech saying, "I seek to register the plaintive cry, the hurt feelings, the silent, the dumb protests of the inarticulate." Gonzalez then spoke for 22 hours without a break. Among the things he said, this type of legislation is in keeping with the old world and not the new world. I like equality, not third-class and first-class citizens. We have an old Spanish saying, we are all children or all stepchildren of God. I believe we are all Americans. His opponents agreed to withdraw 4 of the 10 bills if he would just stop talking. Kazin and Gonzalez succeeded in killing 8 of the 10 bills aimed at circumventing the U.S. Supreme Court's 1954 decision, Brown v. Board of Education, which desegregated public schools.